All right, sorry about that. Here's part two. Okay, if you are just getting in on part two and you missed all of part one, you missed so much cool stuff. Anyway, just go back and watch that. All right, so California wants to be free. The line would have divided it. Everybody's confused. What are we going to do? So we have these two characters stand up in Congress. John C. Calhoun, Mr. Neck Chin Beard himself, scary eyed hair, whatever. He says, secede, formally withdraw from the Union. Vocab word. He wants to secede and formally withdraw from the Union. And then you have other guys who are standing up. I wish to speak today not as a Massachusetts man, nor as a Northern man, but as an American. I believe, or I speak today for the preservation of the Union. So you got these two competing ideas. We're 1850-ish right now, 1849, 1850. We've got this division in the Senate. We got secede, leave the Union. We got, boom, stay in the Union. We're going to keep it all together forever. Wonder which one wins. All right, that leads us back to old Henry Clay and his compromising skills. Man, he's good. He's old now. He's 30 years older at this point, but he can still solve your problems. All right. So he says, whoa, let's take this. Let's take a breather and look at this. Let's make both sides happy. So California, you're going to enter as a free state. California, free. Texas is going to be a slave state, but it's going to give up a big portion of its land. Remember, Texas used to go clear up here like that. But because of that 3630 line, Texas is going to give this land up back to the federal government and return getting their debts paid. Then they also gave this little piece right there to Oklahoma, the Indian Territory, because it didn't want to be anywhere near the line. Thought if we were below the line, we wouldn't need slavery. All right, we're going to go over the rest of this Compromise 1850, but go ahead and pause it now. I want you to put this here in the Compromise of 1850 section, right there, 1850, and put all that information and draw this picture or draw that on there. So go ahead and pause now. All right, I'm assuming you're back. So we're back. Henry Clay, 78 years old. He is negotiating. He is compromising 1850. He is going to make 5 points. 5 points in this compromise 1850. In your vocab, on your paper of knowledge, I guess, what do we call this one? Our digital paper of knowledge, since we don't have a color for this one. Or maybe you printed it out. The paper of knowledge, right here. 5 things. California would be a free state. The rest of the Mexican cession, all that stuff in the middle between Texas and California up to Utah, that is all going to use popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty again, you should say, the states will choose. States will choose, or territories will choose, if they're going to be free or slave. Fun fact, Utah picks slavery. Yeah, didn't see that coming, did you? So the reason that was probably why they did slavery is because the Republican Party, which will come out shortly after this, they are going to say that polygamy and slavery are the two barbarian things of the time. And so if they wanted to keep polygamy, multiple wives, then if they had slavery, then they would attack that before they'd attack their polygamy. Possibly. That's Adam, not Mr. Sturm. All right, Texas would give up all their land that I just drew on there, and the government would take Texas. Slave trade would end in Washington, D.C. You could still have slaves, you just couldn't go and trade them in public in Washington, D.C. We're like one of the last civilized countries to keep slavery. And we were going to put a stronger fugitive slave law in its place. Now, do you need to know all those things? No. Do you need to know the Compromise 1850 kind of kept the balance going? I would like you to know that. Then we tried to keep the balance going for about 10 more years. All right, here's the Fugitive Slave Law. Now, I said it made it more strict, it made it harder. All right, it made it a crime to help runaway slaves and allowed officials to arrest those slaves in free areas. So, no longer were slaves safe above the Ohio River. Slave hunters could come up there and find them, take them back. So Canada got infiltrated with a whole bunch of runaway slaves from the United States. Slaveholders could take suspected slaves to a commissioner who would decide their fate. In the court, slaveholders could use whites to testify. Slaves could not use anyone. Commissioners were paid based on their case $5 if they freed the slave, $10 if they put the slave back in bondage. Fair. Right. Out of 343 cases in 10 years, 1 slave was set free. Oh, sorry, I lied. That's 11. There we go. 11 slaves were set free. 11 out of 343. All right, so this is what our country is starting to look like. And that's going to lead us to the KansasNebraska Act, the last thing that we're going to talk about here. All right. So the blue areas, Utah and New Mexico territories, they're going to be using popular sovereignty. Green are going to be free states. Slave are going to be the reddish pink color. And then Kansas, Nebraska are going to be the last to decide. And what a mess it is going to be. All right. So this is fun stuff here. We even got Sturm Velos combo in his super suit. Man, this is serious. All right. Zachary Taylor going to die in office in 1850. He was replaced by Millard Fillmore, who will be our 13th president. And then we have an election. And Pierce will win the election by a landslide over the Whig Party, which is pretty much about to dissolve and become part of the Republican Party here pretty soon. So Pierce wins. He gets to be number 14. And like any good president, he pushes slavery behind. We don't care about that. We don't speak about that. All right. But what he did speak about is the KansasNebraska Act. In 1854, so this is going to be your last map to color, we are going to let popular sovereignty decide whether Kansas and Nebraska territories, which is this huge section right through there, is going to decide if they're slave and free. The Republican Party, Bloody Kansas will break out, and we're going to go into that next class. It's awesome. Unless you're living there, and it sucked. Then the Republican Party forms from the Whigs and from the Free Soil Party. All right. It all starts because of a little guy, literally little, he's shorter than me, Stephen Douglas, nicknamed the Little Giant. He's a Illinois man who owns a lot of land in Chicago, and he wants a train to run from Chicago, where he owns the land, to the California, to the Pacific Ocean. The South said absolutely not, because it does not run in the South. It runs in the North. So we'll see more from Stephen Douglas. So what he decided to do is he wanted to divide the remainder of Louisiana Purchase into 2 territories, Kansas and Nebraska. Allow popular sovereignty to decide about slavery. Even with all the anti-Nebraska petitions, President Pierce and Douglas pushed it through. People didn't want it to happen, but Pierce and Douglas, they wanted it to. Railroad did not pass until 1862. So 8 years later. All right, now we will continue about that next time. I want you to make sure your map is all colored up and finished, and have a great day and make history. And wash your hands.